Warning. Do not watch on an empty stomach and make sure your fridge is well stocked. Medrin, still anxious despite having dodged a bullet, slowly responded, yes. Duke Porgo was shocked. Impossible. Leon laughed. I may have thought so. But reality shows otherwise. He is the one that even my father and the entire empire don't dare to challenge. Porgo wasn't convinced, stating, is that really the reason? Both the Knights of the First Order and Medrin were present at the time. Speaking of which, he suddenly realized he had misspoken. So he added, but, to just leave him like that would be too dangerous. Of course, that's not the only reason. Leon explained. What did we do to expand our influence? We pressured the nobles using the Knights of the First Order and Medrin, tightening the grip to force them into submission. Reflecting on it, Leon continued, that kid Grake was so determined. I laughed bitterly wondering, would I have accepted that bet if I were in his position? Porgo couldn't answer that question and remained silent. Listening further, we put all our trust in the kid whom we threatened and controlled. Let's start over, but this time, take it slow to build trust. The path we're currently on is more dangerous than walking naked around the streets. It seems that after this feast, Crown Prince Leon has been enlightened. Who knows, maybe thanks to this incident, the Crown Prince might have gained the strongest ally in history. One who poses no threat to his political power. Come to think of it, he has nothing to lose at all. Back at the restaurant, the morning after the turbulent day of hosting the Crown Prince, everything was calm again. What's this? Rurin asked, confused, while Miltine marveled from behind. It's wonderful. Ellison breathed a sigh of relief, wiping the sweat off his brow, proudly looking at the structure in front of him. This is a barn where the Baronurik can sleep comfortably. An innocent cow mooed, then casually used its hind leg to kick the door. The barn immediately collapsed into a pile of wood. Ellison's jaw dropped, unable to speak, frozen in shock. If he could have turned to stone from embarrassment, he would have. Rurin taunted. If they slept in there, they would have all died. Ellison hugged the pile of wood fragments, crying out loud. Building a barn without any architectural knowledge was really foolish. Rurin asked, how did you manage to build the restaurant then? Did you hammer away all day long or what? Ellison sighed and admitted, feeling a bit ashamed, I just hung the sign. The restaurant was built by the builders. There are also a few rare cases. Perhaps I need to visit that place. Where to? Of course, to the place with the best architects in the world. Get ready, we're going to see the dwarves. Mount Maloric, a place deep in the mountain ranges, contains a massive amount of money, gold, and all kinds of rare treasures. It looks just like a treasure trove. I sense a familiar aura. An interesting fellow creature. Just when I was bored. It's quite fun to meet this, said a striking woman with a toned body and abs that would put any gym enthusiast to shame. With fiery red hair, she seems to be the guardian of this place. A red dragon named Serena. Serena smiled mischievously. Dare to step into my territory. I'll teach you a lesson. Finally, I can get out, she exclaimed, standing up. I've been bored because no ordinary human has come here lately. These guys will be perfect targets for me to punish for daring to trespass on the territory of a red dragon without permission. Lost in her own monologue, she carelessly stepped on a golden crown, causing its tip to hit her shin. She's already stumbled upon herself like this and still talks about punishment. What a clumsy one. Meanwhile, another unfortunate dragon was experiencing a new trial in her life. I hate climbing mountains, Rurin said with a frown. Ellison told her to bear with it. Rurin wondered why he didn't just hire human architects. No one can compare to the dwarves when it comes to construction. Seeing Ellison so certain, Rurin became much more excited. Are they that talented? So their village must be amazing. Right? It's been a while since I last visited. But it should be around here somewhere. The gate is cracked on one side, scarred on the other, and covered in moss. How does it look? Wild beauty? Rurin marveled. The gate is big, but something feels off. Ellison didn't expect this place to look like this now. There were no guards at the entrance. And inside, there were piles of bones. It seemed like someone had been here before. Rurin immediately went on the defensive. Who could it be? A giant shadow covered the two of them, followed by something rushing toward the entrance, creating an explosion. A massive, spiked tail with fur at the end appeared. What is this? I rushed out eagerly, thinking it was my kin. But it turned out to be just an arrogant brat? What a disappointment. The huge red dragon looked down on Rurin and Ellison, visibly upset. I thought it was someone daring to trespass on my territory. But it's just a human and a young dragon. Hey, are you the culprit? The red dragon's face fell for a moment. You there, are you talking to me? How dare you show such disrespect toward a dragon? The pinnacle of living creatures? Ellison threw his stuff down and ordered. Answer my question. The red dragon immediately roared. You must have lost your mind. You lowly insect. The red dragon opened its jaws and unleashed a massive flame. Rurin cried out in alarm. That's a red dragon roar. Ellison, you can't block that with a magic shield. Ellison switched to cold mode. He had already activated a magic circle somehow, and his eyes emitted lightning. The spell was level 9. The red dragon's terrifying flame was reduced to the size of a torch. The red dragon's eyes widened in shock. My red dragon roar, Ellison said coldly. Fire control. A powerful blue light struck the red dragon. The spot where it hit was charred. The red dragon finally realized who was in control here. Are you really human? How can you? Seeing Ellison's handsome face, the red dragon recalled something. Serena appeared, clutching her belly in pain. There's a legend about a human who killed many of my fellow in the previous war. But why are you traveling with a black dragon? Rurin wasn't pleased with the red dragon's description of her. I asked first, but you still haven't answered me. Ellison was annoyed, preparing to cast another spell. Serena was so scared by the magic she fell to the ground, stammering and finally crying out in defense. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. When I got here, it was already like this. I'm sorry for being rude. I was wrong. Ellison still frowned, displeased. Serena whispered, I went inside once, but didn't see any dwarves alive. So, I haven't received any tribute. There's a large door blocking the way inside, so I haven't seen anything beyond it. A door? Where is it? Seeing this as an opportunity to reverse the situation, Serena had an idea. She tossed her hair and said, if you need guidance. She approached Ellison flirtatiously. I can lead you there. It will be more fun than traveling with this brat. No dragon understands human men better than I do. Ellison is mine. Rurin rushed over to assert her claim and kicked Serena in the shin. Why does it have to be there? Serena, in pain, clutched her injured shin. Rurin shouted, tell us the location, now. Ellison had something to say about Rurin's claim. Serena, still in pain and unable to stand, could only give the location to these two unruly guests. Underground, at the deepest level, Ellison and Rurin eagerly set off, with Rurin moving faster than usual. Meanwhile, at the Count's castle, Diren was recounting everything that had happened at the restaurant to his mother. I heard you're not feeling well. Are you feeling better now? He asked cautiously. Countess Grake, Berna Grake, maintained a cold expression, saying she was fine but didn't touch the delicious pastry on the table. Diren was worried. You skipped breakfast again. If you don't like the dishes on the menu, we can change them. Don't worry about that. Berna was indeed very cold toward Diren, making the boy feel distressed. Returning to her room and sitting by the bed, looking at her unconscious husband, Berna began to pour out her heart. I feel suffocated. This vast space is like a coffin enclosing me. Even the sweet breakfast tastes like sand. Can you hear me? I can't take it anymore. The emaciated man kept his eyes tightly shut. Every moment with Diren felt like torture. Back to the ruined dwarf village. The path was littered with corpses, with no survivors. This was definitely caused by a dragon. We should go back and deal with that red dragon, said Rurin. She clearly still resented Serena, despite her fondness for Ellison. Ellison hurried to calm the impulsive girl. Take it easy. I don't think the dragon is lying. At that moment, they came across a door. That's probably the door she mentioned. The giant, solid door had a protruding section with intricate designs on it. Ellison could sense many signs of life being blocked behind it. This door doesn't look easy to open, Rurin said. testing its sturdiness by punching and kicking it and thinking they should just break it open. Suddenly, the orb in the center of the door lit up and a voice spoke. "Stop. Go away, intruders. You are not welcome here." Ellison, witnessing this miraculous scene for the first time, was amazed, but he still recognized that the voice belonged to a dwarf and asked what had happened here. From within, the response came, "The red dragon destroyed this place." Rurin shouted, "See, I knew it was her. All right, I'll go deal with her. Seriously, this girl has a hot temper. Keeping her is 100 times more troublesome than keeping other species." Ellison quickly grabbed the girl to stop her from acting rashly. "Wait, let's talk more first." A voice came from inside again. "A dragon?" Ellison said. "Calm down," but Rurin still jumped up in anger. "Why? It's simple. Just go and break their heads. Then these people will open the door." "That's easier said than done," Ellison told her. "It's not that simple. There are signs of a few dragons on that door." Inside the door, a trembling voice said, "No, dragons, the pinnacle of living creatures." Rurin, with hot blood rushing to her head, said loudly, "Then let's find another red dragon and crush its head. This girl, if she gets any bigger, probably won't care about anyone." Ellison whispered to her, "Calm down, I have an idea." "What are you going to do now? Calm her down?" "Peaceful measures are always preferred." Ellison smiled cryptically. "When it comes to scheming, he doesn't lose to anyone." "How long have you been behind this door?" Ellison asked. "Probably about a year." "Then it's not surprising if there are a few issues. Such as food, for example. Are you really not going to open the door?" "I say this because I want to help everyone." "Why should we trust you? How can you prove you're not a servant of the Red Dragon?" Hearing this, Rurin became furious again. "How dare you compare us to those minions? We can't be compared." Ellison quickly covered her mouth. He sighed. "All right, I'll respect your decision. Thank you for understanding us." Ellison told Rurin, "Go bring the luggage here." Rurin gasped. Ellison arranged stones and used magic to create a fire to form a stove. The person inside began to grow curious. "What are you doing?" Nothing much. We need to get back to the surface. But the journey is quite long. Right? It would be exhausting. So, we need to eat something before we go. Eating right in front of the hungry house is so cruel." "Wait, why are you eating here? Go eat somewhere else." The person inside couldn't bear it and ordered them to leave. Ellison, with his innocent expression, said, "It's a long way out. So we have to eat first." "Take it out, Rurin immediately pulled out a bunch of sausages. The person inside grew curious again. "What's that?" "This is called sausage. It's made from minced meat, seasoned with various spices, and then stuffed into the intestines for shaping." Ellison put the sausages in the pan to fry. The fragrance immediately wafted out, intoxicating to anyone who smelled it. The group that had been fasting for a year began to murmur. "Enough. We're underground, so the smell can't reach us here." Ellison replied quickly, "All right then, we can enjoy the fragrance even longer." The person inside jumped in shock. "Do you have no empathy? Why do we need empathy?" From inside, there were sounds of bickering. "Leader, it really does smell delicious. Let's try a little." "Shut up." Ellison cheerfully whistled outside. Rurin realized this was his peace-loving idea. He said, "Actually, these foods are gifts I brought to ask for a favor from the dwarfs. But seeing the current situation, it doesn't seem like the right time to ask. However, I still want to know what happened here. Could you tell us about that?" The person inside still seemed stubborn and unwilling to reveal more. Ellison then opened his package. No choice. Time to open the beer. Inside, they reacted. "What's that sound?" Ellison shook the pan of sausages and explained. "Actually, these sausages are quite salty to preserve them, so they go perfectly with beer." He and Rurin each grabbed a sausage and a can of beer. "Count to 3, cheer." At this point, the door began to open. Ellison smirked. "Looks like we're getting results." The large door swung wide open along with a voice full of longing. Just one bite. Hot, crispy fried sausages were laid out in front of them. The 4 dwarves were drooling. Ellison noticed that everyone looked so thin, It must be a severe food shortage. He told them to eat slowly, as he had prepared enough for everyone. The white-bearded dwarf took a bite and was moved to tears. One of them sipped the beer and sighed. It's best when combined with beer. I never thought I'd get to eat something this delicious again. Allison thought. Normally you shouldn't give beer to hungry people. But the dwarfs have a high tolerance for alcohol and weren't on the verge of passing out from hunger. Chief, how do you find the taste? The dwarf wearing a helmet was the chief. Although he was worried about being poisoned, he was the first to take a bite. The dwarf chief laughed heartily. This is an exception. We owe you a big favor. I'm glad to hear that. I plan to share some sausages with the other dwarfs too. Is Geltzer here? The dwarf chief was astonished. How do you know him? I've met him before. I have something to discuss. Recognizing that Ellison had connections with higher-ups, the dwarf chief said he would personally lead him to meet whoever he wanted. After eating and drinking to their fill, the dwarves became much more agreeable. Within the dark mines was an entire village, with winding roads. An estimated 20 to 30 dwarves still lived and survived there. Ellison truly didn't understand why things had turned out this way. Soon, they arrived at a room guarded by soldiers outside. The chief called out to the person inside. Lord Geltzer, a human wishes to see you. Meanwhile, Ellison asked, Rurin, have you given out all the sausages? She confidently confirmed, as if I'd forget something like that. Come in. Geltzer let them inside. Long time no see. Geltzer, Ellison greeted as he would an old friend. This old dwarf with silver hair and beard was the chief of the dwarf tribe. I'm sorry to meet you again in this condition, Ellison, and the one beside you must be the mighty one. He said, the dragon with the temper like ice cream. Right? Rurin, having received a compliment, graciously acknowledged. Geltzer is old, but his eyesight is still sharp. Hee, I'm already too familiar with this aura. The dwarf chief wondered who these two were. That even Lord Geltzer would speak so humbly. So, what do you want to talk about? Geltzer asked. You must know. What happened here? How did the dwarf tribe's golden treasure mine decline so? Geltzer grimaced, struggling internally before speaking. It was due to the red dragon's attack. We fought desperately, but it was useless. In the end, only a few survivors remained to guard this place. Ellison immediately asked, was that red dragon with red hair and curved horns? No, it wasn't, he replied. Rurin almost charged at the wrong person. Geltzer continued, we were attacked by a group of red dragons. Ellison suspected as much. Indeed, the marks on the door were caused by the coordinated attack of the red dragons. I can't believe those proud dragons would work together. Have they gone mad? Or is there a major issue forcing them to lower their pride? There is something here, Ellison said quietly, startling the dwarf chief. Geltzer calmly stroked his beard, hesitated a moment, then reached under the table to press the secret red button there. Ellison, you'll be fine. The bookshelf beside them opened like a sliding door, revealing an entrance to a secret room. Geltzer led the way. Please come this way. Ellison and Rurin stood dumbfounded at this secret room. There is something I want to show you, Geltzer said. In fact, this isn't the first time we've been attacked by dragons. Geltzer narrated as they walked. This hidden chamber was quite spacious. Maybe it was to demand tribute or just for fun. But our mine has been attacked multiple times in the past. However, we have been able to stay here for so long because we have a guardian. Geltzer dropped the ring that held a gemstone emitting a mysterious blue light, illuminating the entire space inside, revealing a massive skeleton. He introduced, this is their guardian, the noble golden dragon Kulert, the protector god of the dwarf tribe. Ellison was taken aback by the enormous size of the dragon skeleton. With this size, this dragon must have lived at least 5,000 years. Did you offer tributes to this dragon for protection? Geltzer immediately denied it. He never accepted tributes. He simply helped us, protected us from invaders, and imparted wisdom while maintaining his generosity and warmth. But in the end, he could not withstand the passage of time. Ellison and Rurin were momentarily speechless. Geltzer raised the glowing ring and turned back to look at them. You're curious too, Ellison, aren't you? Why did the red dragons attack us? Why do we insist on staying in this dilapidated mine? The glowing ring transformed into a gemstone. Rurin seemed entranced by its light. Geltzer said, "It's all because of this. The ancient jewel is the essence of magic, capable of creating a dragon king. Our dwarf tribe must protect it." The Dragon King was said to have commanded the dragons. It is said that if the supreme dragons acted like an independent nation, no country or hero could stand in their way. Especially since this embodies the will of all species, this world might be destroyed, and only a few dragons could create the ancient jewel, essential for the birth of a dragon king. Golden Dragon Colored was one of them. He hid and protected this place to prevent this jewel from being used for evil purposes, as well as to prevent the birth of a new dragon king. The number of jewels needed to create a dragon king remains uncertain. Dragon King Colored. Rurin's face grew increasingly pale, recalling some old memories. At that time, she was still a little black dragon, joyfully playing around. Rurin trembled, remembering the silhouette of a woman attacked by the black dragon. Elder Metadonna. That person had previously come to the restaurant, pressing her and Ellison. At this moment, Geltzer mentioned another name, Gatira. This name completely awakened the memories Rurin thought had long been dormant. It was her mother. Rurin remembered being with her mother, lying in her mother's arms and laughing so hard the sun couldn't be seen. "Rurin, I told you not to come here." But Rurin just grinned and responded, "You always were a fool." Present-day Rurin clutched her chest and collapsed to the ground, her face as pale as a ghost. The scene of rivers of blood flashed in her mind, and Rurin's tears fell as she called out for her mother. Ellison hurriedly embraced Rurin to console her while answering Geltzer's inquiry. It takes 3 crystals, collected by a dragon, to fully awaken a dragon king that can destroy everything. Geltzer held the gemstone, closed his eyes, and said, "I understand the pain you must endure. I'm truly selfish." Geltzer hid the gemstone back in the ring and continued, "The ancient jewel is always associated with sorrow and grief. Dragon King Colored and I tried to find a way to destroy it, but we never succeeded." Ellison told him, "We plan to build a dragon cave in Grake City, so come with us. We're planning to build a new village there." Geltzer was stunned. "A new village for the dwarf tribe?" As you saw from Rurin's reaction, we have no intention of using the ancient jewel to create a dragon king, and this place has already become a target. Dragons will continue to attack. Geltzer looked longingly at the dragon's bones. He seemed reluctant to leave this place. Ellison quickly said, "I'm not forcing you. I know that for the dwarf tribe, nothing is more valuable than one's homeland. The decision is yours." Geltzer, struck to the heart, stood still without saying a word. Outside, Rurin stopped crying, her eyes still brimming with tears. "Are you feeling better?" Rurin wiped her tears and replied to Ellison with a single word. Then asked, "Are we just leaving like this? Shouldn't we take the ancient jewel with us?" Ellison said, "I've set up some magic traps for intruders, so we can provide support if needed." With that said, Rurin accepted it. Ellison explained that leaving suddenly is hard for them to accept, given the many memories tied to this place. Meanwhile, Geltzer remained deep in thought. Just then, the chief entered. "Chief Geltzer, I have something for you." He brought up a plate of hot sausages. "What's this?" Geltzer widened his eyes, looking at the sausages as if they were from another planet. "This is the food that the human left us. The others have already started enjoying it. I told them to wait a bit, but they couldn't contain their hunger any longer." The chief pulled back the curtain to lead Geltzer outside. The whole dwarf tribe was feasting and celebrating like a party. Geltzer was incredibly amazed and moved to see the smiles on his people's faces. He suddenly realized something and remembered a memory from long ago when he was young. "Look, Geltzer, you called for me." "Dragon King Colored?" the frail old dragon said. "Isn't living in this cramped and dark place miserable?" Geltzer replied firmly, "Dragon King Colored may see it as cramped, but for us, it's quite spacious." "Oh, really? I thought you were here for the ancient jewels." Colored laughed heartily. "What are you talking about? We fully understand how important they are." Geltzer was startled by Colored's teasing. "Ha ha, now my magic can hide the power of these jewels. But if I do that, the dragons will come searching for them. So, after I'm gone, ensure that the entire dwarf tribe leaves this place. Geltzer was surprised. What? Why would you ask us to abandon both Dragon King Cullert and our homeland? Dragon King Cullert laughed in a foolish manner. What's left after my time will just be a pile of bones. Please don't say that. The Dragon King became serious. Listen here, if no one remembers me, then both I and this homeland will just become meaningless ashes. So, survive. What is the point of departure if it only eats away at the pain of the living? Eat, grieve, and become happier for the next generation. I'm not here to make you suffer. What do you mean? You have helped us so much. Geltzer choked up. Cullert laughed out loud. I don't expect you to protect the ancient jewels anyway. Lord Cullert. It had been a long time since Geltzer last saw his people laugh. I'm sorry, Cullert. Geltzer collapsed to the ground. Chief Geltzer. The chief called out in alarm. By this time, Rurin and Ellison had already left the village. Ellison. Suddenly, there was a call. The two turned around and saw someone approaching. Please wait a moment, I was wrong. Ellison had the smile of a victor. The Maloric Mountain Dwarf tribe will help you build the Dragon Cave. Geltzer led his fully packed people, breathlessly saying, please accept us. And so, the dwarf tribe came to live in Grake. With just a few sausages, he managed to recruit an entire tribe to work as builders. Amazing. Upon arrival, the dwarfs immediately began building the Dragon Cave for Rurin. Now there's no need to worry about Elder Black Dragon Metadonna coming after them. The problem of Rurin's nest was solved. They may be small, but they work with incredible efficiency. Ellison looked at the construction before him with confidence. Then I'll leave this matter to you. Elle also had to marvel. They're really fast. Geltzer assured. Leave it to them. But is it alright to start right away? Don't worry. Although they're hungry, everyone is very healthy, but I still want to eat a few more sausages. Ha ha. Don't worry about food. Ellison turned to ask. Rurin, how about it? Looks nice, right? Yeah, I'm really excited. Rurin smiled, utterly satisfied. How could she not be? When she no longer has to dig a muddy nest every day. Now, the remaining issue is this. Ellison held the ancient jewel with hesitation. I trust that you, Ellison, will use it properly. Geltzer smiled with confidence. That's why I trust the future of the dwarf tribe to you. Ellison's face went blank. Rurin will absorb it? Rurin snapped. Don't joke around like that. She extended her hand and gave him a playful punch as Ellison placed the jewel into his pocket. So, I'll have to keep it from now on? He patted Rurin on the head to comfort her as she was in shock. Rurin said grimly, the birth of a new Dragon King will never happen. Ellison agreed. To prevent that, we need to do something. At the same time, someone was crying. What is this? I was so excited to go out and breathe the fresh air. But I'm almost broke because I was defeated by those bastards? Serena held her shin and cried like rain. I get it. I'll never go out again. Suddenly, she noticed something and furrowed her brow, asking, who's there? Don't tell me it's Gyard. Get out of here. I have nothing to say to you. Gyard? Who's that? These two shadows seemed familiar. So, you're hiding something, Ellison said. Serena was startled. No. How did you? Ellison and Rurin exuded a terrifying aura, ready to use brute force. You never accepted tributes, but this nest is filled with treasures. Huh? I came here to ask a few things. But after seeing this, it seems like we don't need to do that anymore. Serena fell headfirst to the ground, looking at the two monsters before her, sobbing. I told you everything I knew last time. Get away from me. Why me? Why are you doing this to me? Poor thing. She had the reputation of being the proudest dragon alive, but now she looked terribly pitiful. After all, Serena is the most unfortunate of them all. Of course, Serena wasn't spared just because of a few tears and a pitiful face. Who is Gyard? From the conversation, it seems like he's one of your kind. Huh? Does that mean you attacked the dwarf tribe's mine with him? No. Serena immediately denied it. She stammered, shyly mumbling. He's my ex. Ellison said. I can't hear what she's saying. Serena blushed and yelled at the top of her lungs. I said he's my ex. I mistook you two for him because he was always around. Ellison went along, sorry for poking at Sorina's pain. She began to cry again. I've only been here for 6 months. So I haven't met any gangs. Ruren didn't believe her and kept pressing. So where did all these treasures come from? You said you don't accept tributes? Sorina gritted her teeth and snapped her fingers. And the pile of treasures vanished like boiling water. She yelled, "They're all fake." Ellison and Ruren were stunned, looking at the empty space around them. Sorina seemed to have just exposed herself in front of them, blushing and crying loudly. Are you satisfied now? If you want, take it all. Poor girl. Seeing her cry is pitiful. Back at the restaurant, Ellison and Ruren were still discussing. Maybe we went a bit too far. I've never seen a dragon so miserable. We haven't found any information about the group of dragons that attacked the dwarf tribe. There's nothing left for us to investigate, Ellison said, but since we have the jewel, we'll find out eventually. I wonder which gang could have done this. At that moment, Mr. Ment and Elena arrived at the restaurant. Ellison was delighted to see them. Can you walk without crutches? Are you okay? Ellison asked. It was great to see Mr. Ment recover this much. Mr. Ment responded as he moved his leg. Though it's still difficult to move too much. I'm much better, all thanks to Elena. Elena humbly said. I didn't do anything. It's due to his strong will during therapy that led to faster recovery than expected. Ellison laughed and said, everyone has faith in Elena. Anyway, Ellison's attitude made Ruren, standing next to him, turn into a jar of sour vinegar, reeking with jealousy. Have you faced any challenges at the clinic recently? Ellison casually asked, chatting with Elena, unaware of Ruren's attitude. Elena smiled and said, oh, no, it's gotten better, although the problem still remains. Nellin and his mother came to the clinic to express their gratitude. And several minors came too. They also took responsibility for helping me fend off men with bad intentions. I'm not sure, but it seems to have subsided since then. Ellison suspected that Ms. Rain had a hand in this. With a few casual words like, have you heard the rumors about how hard it's been for Elena? Elena was about to talk about the sauce for vegetables that Ellison had taught her last time when the old dwarf Geltzer opened the tunnel hatch from underground and popped up in the middle of the restaurant. Laughing, Ellison, do you have any of that chestnut stew you made last time? Ellison looked dumbfounded. Since when did they dig a tunnel here? Oh, these food lovers. Elena was shocked to realize the newcomers were from the dwarf tribe. And Ellison was left speechless, not knowing when the dwarves had dug all the way to the restaurant. Geltzer kindly told Elena not to see them as monsters. Elena judged that he knew the elf tribe's etiquette well, but Geltzer didn't want to hear her say that. At this moment, the restaurant's front door burst open, and Mr. Knoll was shouting, pork belly. Conveniently, the whole group was there, and each person added to the lively commotion. Elle laughed with Ruren. It really does look like a restaurant now, doesn't it? Ruren had already put on her apron and sighed. Weren't you aiming for a peaceful life? The food was quickly served. Sausages, pork belly, salad, and pizza. Mr. Ment took a bite of pizza and praised. I missed this pizza so much. We should learn properly from Miltine. Just a casual remark like that was enough to make Miltine's heart flutter. Her face turned bright red, as if being embarrassed wasn't enough. Ruren added, hee hee, why is your face so red? Give her some dignity. Of course. The others who enjoyed the delicious food were also extremely satisfied. Ellison smiled wryly. Should I cook some more? The dwarves were also happily toasting with sausage plates beside them. The warm, bustling atmosphere of the restaurant made Diren outside seem quite sad. He watched as Ruren happily picked up food for Elle, and slumped against the wall, calling softly, Master. Ah, are you calling me? Ellison suddenly opened the door and came out, smiling in response, startling the boy who almost fell to the ground, his heart nearly jumping out of his chest. Why are you sitting outside? What's this kid doing standing outside the door like that? With the magical prowess of a grand mage like Ellison, there's no way he wouldn't sense someone standing outside. The boy seemed startled, stammering, see can you make dessert? Dessert? I know how to make it. But, Diren bit his lip and knelt before El, bowing his head and pleading. Then please make a dessert that can make my mother smile. This request surprised El quite a bit. He asked back, do you mean Lady Berna? This steak looks good. The head chef was making it while also asking the sous chef if the soup was done. Keep checking it constantly to make sure it doesn't burn. And this is the kitchen of the Count's castle, where most cooking utensils and ingredients are available. But Diren still told El to let him know if he needed anything else. El looked at this abundance of ingredients and marveled that the Count's castle was indeed different from his restaurant. These spices can't be found in an ordinary restaurant. It also seemed that everyone here was quite skilled. Just look at the way the chef or sous chef talks. It's overcooked, redo it. I'm sorry, the sous chef replied. At this point, Diren said shyly, the atmosphere here isn't usually this tense. El didn't take issue with it. The Count had already stepped into the kitchen. Usually, head chefs don't talk much. Really? Looking at the head chef smiling at the crying staff. It's hard to believe. In any case, with all of this, I think we can make a delicious dessert. Diren eagerly asked. Really? Ellison assured him. That's right. And he told him to wait. At dinner, Lady Berna wiped her mouth and praised the meal but left the delicious-looking cake untouched. Without eating a single bite. Looking at the untouched cake. For the first time, Ellison doubted his cooking skills. Seeing him standing there dazed, Diren said shyly, I didn't expect her not to take even a bite. Ellison replied shakily, no, if she had eaten even a bite, it would have been more hurtful. I understand. After regaining his composure, Ellison turned to Diren and asked, you're still keeping your distance from the Count, aren't you? Since when did Lady Berna stop eating dessert? Diren bowed his head sadly. Normally, it's not like this. She used to love eating dessert. But dessert is the key to unlocking my mother's closed heart. As he had said before, Lady Berna was a strict person. For many years after she came to Grake, neither father nor son saw her smile. And Count Grake was very uneasy about this. The Lord of Grake City, Count Leiden Grake, was still healthy at the time. During the meal, Leiden and Berna had some discussions about raising Diren. It seems like Diren follows you a lot. Huh? But you don't have to be so strict with the boy. He's still young, right? I'm teaching him to behave like a noble. Diren obediently sat eating and didn't interfere with his parents' conversation. Leiden smiled kindly. Behavior, huh? So you don't smile because of those rules? This question startled Berna. I've noticed for a while that you seem to be bound by responsibilities. What you like and want to do. I haven't seen in the past 4 years. Can't you be more at ease? This is our home now. Seeing Berna's empty plate, Leiden exclaimed, you finished your dessert? Even Berna was surprised to see only a few crumbs left on her plate. Count Leiden grinned widely with joy. I see, you like desserts? Berna blushed, embarrassed and about to deny it. But Leiden remained incredibly excited. I couldn't make desserts while restoring the territory. But now that I know what you like, we're still at war, so it's hard to get sugar. But I'll make sure dessert is always on the table. Little Diren heard his father say this and was happy too. And that's how he learned that his mother liked desserts. Since that day, Count Leiden brought desserts continuously. It started with an attractive 2-tier cake and the radiant faces of the father and son. Next, Count Leiden provided a menu full of desserts that made Diren listen in awe. A dessert appetizer, a main dessert, and another dessert for dessert. Leiden enthusiastically cheered. Dad, please calm down. The result of the obsession with desserts was that, after finishing the menu, both father and son looked pale from being too full. However, Leiden still insisted on keeping the menu intact regardless of the risk of diabetes. Lady Berna couldn't hold back her laughter. You can stop now. When he saw her smile, the Count and his son were as happy as if they had found gold. The Countess's smile was truly beautiful. No wonder the Count risked diabetes just to make a full menu of sweet dishes. One day, Diren was walking down the hall when he heard a shout. I can't believe you still haven't had a successor. The boy was startled but quickly witted and stopped to listen at the door. His eavesdropping paid off. The booming voice continued from inside. And it seemed the person inside was extremely angry. It's been 5 years. 5 years? Recently. You haven't even responded to me anymore. What are you doing? Don't test my patience any longer. After that, the person inside opened the door and walked out. Diren couldn't react in time and got hit by the door. His unprofessional eavesdropping led to him getting caught. The man seemed too angry and stormed off without even noticing what he had done. Berna walked out and was surprised to see her son sitting on the ground. Diren asked his mother awkwardly, Mom, what happened? Berna gently helped her son up and explained, Nothing. I think your grandfather is upset because I haven't replied to him. Grandfather? You mean Count Dedren, the head of the Dedren family? Berna smiled kindly. You don't have to worry. After all, I'm still a part of Grake. Now let's go eat. Berna cheerfully held the hand of her husband's stepson and led him to eat. Young and naive, Diren didn't notice much. In hindsight, he realized something was off. Since then, Diren thought that desserts had changed his mother a lot. For example, during meals, when he made a mess around his mouth, Berna would still frown and remind him, Diren, mind your table manners. He knew that though she remained strict, she now smiled. Proof was that while she scolded him 1 second, in the next she smiled gently and handed Diren a handkerchief. Use this to wipe. Diren was very happy. When Berna played the piano, he and his father would sit and listen, clapping enthusiastically. Only then were they truly a family. But that time was brief. That day, mother and son were learning to bake together. Lady Berna may have been a good pianist, but she certainly wasn't a good baker. You could tell just by looking at the cake. Another failure, Lady Berna lamented. If you're more calm when frosting, you'll get better results. The head chef commented. Berna said she'd try again, but the head chef told her she didn't need to anymore. Berna was determined to do it because she wanted to make a dessert herself. At this moment, Diren excitedly exclaimed, Mom, I did it. Diren held the perfect cake in his hand, which made Berna tear up. The boy comforted his mother. It's all right. Didn't you say that effort always pays off? Yes. I never thought my own words would be used to teach myself. Berna then turned to the household staff angrily. Who dares to run around the castle? The butler, seeing Berna, awkwardly replied, Madam, young master, there you are. You need to hurry. The Lord has lost consciousness. The cause is unknown, was the doctor's diagnosis of Lord Leiden's condition, but there's no sign of poisoning, and the symptoms are rare, so it's hard to diagnose. He's unresponsive and isn't even taking normal meals. Diren cried and called out for his father to wake up, but Leiden couldn't respond to the boy. It was as if his soul had been lost. Little Diren turned to his mother in panic and still remembered the look on Berna's face that day. Her soul seemed to have gone with Leiden, full of sorrow and anger, with no will left. Her eyes looked as if she wanted to give up everything. Since then, Berna no longer touched dessert and kept her distance from me. She only expressed her opinions through the servants, no longer speaking or smiling. Since then, my life has always been controlled. That's why I ran to my master's restaurant. Master, I can only remember up to that time. Ellison remained silent as he listened to Diren recount the story. The boy was still choked up. Sitting together, laughing, and eating, that's my happiness, Diren cried. It seems that it's too much to ask.